Do a Juke Joint style blues, but we're going to do it in context of a live loop. Today I'm using Logic's live looper and my iPad as a controller. First, let's just mess around with it a little bit and then we'll get into the lesson part. Let's change up the drum groove first, just to make it sound a little cooler. Yeah. Nice, yeah. Let's add a different thing. Let's add this harmonica. The guitar groove. Cool, that was fun. So there's a lot of problems with this Logic looper. There's a lot of things that go wrong all the time. And we're gonna get into a lot of those troubleshooting issues that I'm sure y'all are having the same issues that I had. First, let's just learn these guitar parts so that you guys can play around with this on your own and just, it's a fun guitar part by itself. So let's get into the lesson part. This whole thing was really highly influenced by like R.L. Burnside and Kenny Brown and some of their performances that they've done. You can catch those online. I've done some other lessons on both of them, so you can check those out. So to get this Juke Joint style blues, basically you just need a rhythm guitar part and then something to do to solo on top. So what I did is I wrote 2 rhythm guitar parts. I'm gonna teach this in the open position. I played the performance at the beginning with the capo on the 3rd fret so I can use my C harmonica as a cross harp. Here's the first one. And then that goes into this. And this is really typical of hill country blues or juke joint style blues, where it's very percussive and the guitar player is kind of playing the role of a bass player, maybe the rhythm guitar part, and some percussion too at the same time. And that's one of the reasons that makes it so much fun to play this style. So let me show you how to do that. So pluck the E string. So holding this E major chord, we're going thumb and then fingers back and then fingers back up. Okay, and then go back to the thumb. So thumb, fingers out, fingers in, back to the thumb. Just start with that. Okay. Hit it a little bit more aggressively as you get more comfortable with it, so it adds a slap sound. Okay. A lot of the slap sound is actually coming from the thumb hitting the low E string. This is a tricky thing, you know, if you're just starting out on doing this, don't expect the results too fast. Check out some of my other videos on hill country style blues, and that'll get you going in the right direction. Let's piece in the notes now once you can do that basic mechanic. You can hear that there's kind of a bass line going E, 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 G, G, E, 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 G, G, E, okay? Now, when I'm playing that with the performance, you know, I've got a slide on my pinky, so you need to play that kind of like this, with this fingering, using that third finger. Okay. The other thing that's important to know is you need to have it flipped on the rhythm pickup selector, because otherwise, when you go to solo, if it's already bright sounding, the solo is not going to stick out over the top. So essentially, we're just doing that bass line and the fingers going. And that's basically how you do it. Okay. The second groove is basically the same thing, except we're just changing the chords a little bit. So we're going to 2 bars of E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, A7. G, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. If you can't do it exactly like I'm doing it, don't worry about that. Just work on it. And then for now, just try to do a strumming thing so you can start the soloing type stuff. So let's jump into these soloing ideas. All right, so now that we got our groove going, I'm gonna show you some strategies on how you can solo on top of it. We're basically kind of doing 2 different things. We're playing regular blues scale soloing, and then we're doing some slide stuff in standard tuning. So let's start with the regular blues scale stuff. So basically it's just, I think it's best to just focus in the open position and then maybe up 1 or 2 strings. So let's focus on the open position, blues scale, so like this. When you finish the blues scale or a riff and you want to give it some space, play an E chord just to let it hold there so you have some chance to breathe and think about your next riff. Okay? So that's blues scale in the open position. Alright? Now first off, actually I forgot to say, make sure you flip this pickup selector to the treble pickup for the soloing so that it cuts through. Okay? Next is you want to look at the blues scale, maybe up the neck. So let's look at the B string. So we have it like this. O, 3, 5, 7, 10, 12, 15, and then 17. It's the full octave. The reason we want to do the B string is because then you can have the E string ringing as a drone note. It's something I hear Kenny Brown doing sometimes, and it's really cool sound. You have this, you can do stuff like this. Okay, another like variations like that, just play around with that and have some fun. The second thing you want to do is slide in standard tuning. So when you're sliding in standard tuning, what you do is you have to look for adjacent strings on the same fret. There's 2 really good positions for that. Right at the octave, where we have the open, 2 opens, meaning we can come up to the 12th fret and play the 12th fret there. The other thing in the blues scale is you have the 15th fret across both of them. Now it's going to be a little bit bluesier sounding. Just make sure you resolve it back. The third position that's going to be great is here, forming kind of this E major chord in the 7th and 9th frets here. On the 9th fret, we have this cool triad where the 3 notes sit right at the 9th fret. Okay, so that's a really cool spot. You can always slide in on the 2nd string to get that kind of cool blues sound, blues third, right? Also, when you have this chord over blues, the triad right below it, the D triad, is going to work well too. So think of those notes. You can play them with a slide. Like that. Another thing you can try is doing behind the slide work. So we play the slide. So I'm playing behind the slide. Pretty tricky to do, and it's something fun that you can try though. So those are basically the strategies and putting them together. Okay, so just stuff like that, and just kind of, you know, mess around with those ideas and have fun. Okay. Don't try to take too many more ideas, because that, what I just showed you, can go a really, really long way and help you solo for a long time, okay? Now, the other part of the soloing I forgot to mention is that on the 2nd groove where you're playing E, G, A, it gives you a couple more spots in the slide to play. Over the E, you have this triad, but over the G, you have this triad, and over the A, you have this triad. So you can play around with those on the 2nd groove. Now, only play the G and A triads when the G and A chords are being played. So over the E, over G, phrases like that over the A, okay? And then play around with that too. All right, so first, I think I mentioned this already before, but live loops is not super easy to use. It's really complicated. It's not very intuitive. That being said, you know, once you kind of get going with it, it can be really, really fun and useful. I've only actually been doing this for maybe a few days. I've played around with it in the past, and it just always got really frustrated because it didn't really work right. But this time I wanted to do a video lesson on it, so I just kept trying over and over again until I could get it right this time. So I figured out a lot of things. I want to show you a lot of the problems that I had with it, but also just some of the basic things that you need to know if you want to start using this type of thing. Okay, so first off, I have my iPad being used as a controller, and that controls the loops down here. Stop it, everything like that. Okay. And I also use my MIDI keyboard over here to control stopping the whole thing when I'm done with it, and also to play drums, things like that. So just kind of an overview of what the grid looks like is when we have things that are in columns, like you see this column here. This all can be played. These are different tracks, right? So the ones that go in rows, they're different sounds. So I've recorded the harmonica on this row. I've recorded the guitar parts on the 2nd row, 2 different drums on this row, and then this is just the hi-hats that play on this row. Now, if you click on these, they'll start to play what's called a cell. These are called cells. Okay, and they'll just play by themselves like that if you just click them one at a time. That's the guitar part that I recorded. Okay, this is what I ended up with at the end of the performance that I played at the beginning. So we're gonna redo this in a moment, but I first wanna show you that if you click on the bottom thing down here, this will activate playing this entire column. So it's important to kind of know how you stack these things up you need to do it in a way, if you're going to play that or trigger all these together, you want to try to stack them up in that way. So play this stack here too, but it's not just limited to stacks. So you can see that these two are playing now, but I can also trigger this hi-hat once I play. It waits till the downbeat to play the loop, okay? And stop any individual loop, you just click on it, okay? I can also do that here on my iPad, okay? Now notice one thing I did there. I click on it here, and it doesn't come when it doesn't start playing immediately. What it does is it's waiting for the downbeat. You can see that up here on the top right corner where my mouse is. This is indicating where the loop is gonna start. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I recommend starting new loops and activating them if you can on beat 2. Okay, so you need to know how to count. It's gonna be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, then the hi-hats will start playing, right? That'll give you enough time to trigger the loop so that if you misclick it, you can still kind of try again, because a lot of times you're gonna misclick. Okay, so that's just the basic overview. So what I'm gonna do now is basically erase everything and then we'll redo it. So let's come up here. I'm just going to erase it all and boom, it's gone. Okay. So I've left this one here because this is how we're gonna do our ending. Okay. I've recorded this and this is not a loop. Notice it doesn't go in a circle, it just plays that once. So at the end of the performance, when I'm done, I'm gonna click here to trigger this to play. And again, it's gonna play on the downbeat. You always have to keep an eye on this or be mentally counting the whole time. Okay, so when you start a performance, you've gotta have some kind of click going. And before you play anything, it's gonna play 1 bar of a metronome. So if I click here, and I'm actually gonna do this on my iPad this time. I'm gonna click here, I'm gonna go 1, it's gonna click the metronome 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm just gonna try to play hi-hats on the beat. After the 2 bars, okay, cell length over here is called 2 bars. After 2 bars, it's just gonna automatically loop again. You know, I wanna go through this kind of quickly just so you can get an overview of like how it looks. It's still gonna be pretty complicated though, but let's check it out. Okay, so I go 1, and then we go. Okay, and you can see now it's recorded in and it's playing this automatically, right? It's just looping that. Now I wanna add another drum track. So remember, I'm gonna wait till beat 2 and I'm gonna click on the drum track here. Okay, but I'm gonna click on my iPad. So it's gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and you can see now the loop is playing together. So after that, you would want to record guitar. Now, when you record audio instruments, you have to activate the track by clicking on it. So I'm clicking on the blank space over here, kind of over here, but I'm using my iPad for that. And then you have to record enable it. Okay, if you don't hit record enable, it's not going to record. So just for simplicity's sake, let's just record something really easy, like just an E chord or something, just to kind of get it going. Okay, so remember on beat 2, we're gonna click that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now you can see that it's looped as a loop. Now I'm hearing some clicks and pops, so what we gotta do is my computer is maxed out. So I'm gonna actually take these out now. So now that you've got your 1 loop to go, all you have to do is activate it, okay? And then you can now you can kind of play on top of it, right? Practice your soloing. Now Now let's say you want to add another part to that. This time let's add harmonica. What you got to do is, now this harmonica is connected to my microphone, which is up here. You got to unrecord arm this track and then go to the next track and hit record arm. Okay, so this brings up to one of the bugs that constantly happens. I'm gonna go ahead and stop it. A lot of times when I'm doing this, this is one of the bugs, is that sometimes you cannot take off the record arm while it's playing. And the first few days I was using this, that probably happened, I would say, 80% of the time. 80% of the time I would get to a part right here and it just wouldn't allow you to record arm another track. The way that I found that gets around that is if when you originally start the loop, you can't have anything record armed. You can have MIDI record armed, but no audio tracks can be record armed. Otherwise it just stops working like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit it playing. Okay, so now, see, I can record on that track. Now I have a harmonica. So let's just go. Remember to wait for beat 2. Okay, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4. And now that loop just keeps going. Now, just arm recording, cool, and that worked this time. Now, I'm getting some clicks and pops here. You can kind of hear that just a little bit. And that's because I'm doing screen recording at the same time, and you can see my computer up here. The load is like all the way up. It's like 90%. So otherwise you wouldn't hear those kind of clicks and pops. So if you're hearing that, it's because your computer is basically maxed out. Okay. Let's go ahead and stop that loop. So that's the basic looping. Now, the cool part about this loop, the cool part about using this type of looper instead of just a regular looping pedal is I can go through now and change any one of these loops. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So let's play that, and then I'm gonna change the drum groove, and then I'm gonna change the guitar loop, and that's basically what I did on the performance. And then we'll talk about what we did with this, how to end it, okay? So let's get this groove going and see if we can do a different loop. So first off, let's try to change the drum groove. So remember on beat 2, we're gonna click this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whew. Computer's just barely keeping up, yeah. And there's some delay on that too. A lot of that is because I have these plugins in here. So I'm gonna have to turn those off for a moment. So take some of the load off the computer. Okay, so now let's say we recorded this second part. Right, now we change the drums. But I wanna now change the guitar part. So what we do is click the guitar up here, click record enable, and then wait for beat 2, and then we're gonna click this empty cell spot here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now it's playing that loop. Unrecord arm it, and then you're good. Right. Now, what you would do here is practice your soloing stuff that we already talked about on top of this. Now, this loop over here is designated for the end. When I'm ready to stop soloing, I'm gonna try to click that loop on beat 2. Let's try it on the next one. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So that's the ending. So once I'm done, I want to click right there, and it's going to give me just kind of a hit. I just basically did this. You know, I just slammed down my hand on the MIDI keyboard to record that. and that's how you can end it. So otherwise it just kind of will just stop, or it doesn't stop and it just keeps playing forever and ever. So this is just a basic overview of this, how to use this looper, how I used it, and it's pretty cool, you know? So that's some stuff on this logic looper. This was a pretty advanced lesson, and I hope this isn't too complicated, but if you guys like this stuff, like, please let me know. I think it's really fun, and there's a lot of benefits of using the live loops in Logic. I am going to be doing some other lessons on looping, but with different styles of looping. So with just the regular boss looper, the old school style, just button click stomp box, and also some cool stuff that you can use just straight in your iPad. That's way cheaper than this option, and also in a lot of ways it's designed a lot better. Hopefully you guys like this stuff, and let me know if you do, and also let me know if you don't. That's okay too. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.